Welcome back to the O Hockey Show, and we are talking about round number 2 between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Carolina Hurricanes. The first confirmed matchup, which will start tomorrow, actually. Shocking enough news. I did not expect that, but they will be starting round 2 tomorrow on Saturday, May the 2nd. And this is a series that I think is going to be very, very interesting because a lot of people have been joking already that it's going to be the most boring series. And I don't know if that's true. It's either going to be the most boring series possible or very entertaining to watch. I would not say the Senators series was very boring, and I don't think the Pittsburgh series was very boring. I think these two teams have a lot of entertaining value to them, and I think I was loving the defensive physical hockey, and I think both these teams are going to bring that. So I think we're in for a real treat. Between these two, and especially the attitude they're going to bring. Because right now, it looks like this should be all the Hurricanes. That's what everyone on the internet says. That's what everyone thinks. 3-0 was their season record against the Philadelphia Flyers. However, all of those went to overtime or a shootout. Which is very interesting, which means both these teams are hanging with each other till the very end. However, the Canes were the ones able to get it done. And I would like to make a note, though, that a few of those games were definitely toward the end of the season where the Flyers were really needing to win. Especially like the last game of the season or whatever it was when the Philadelphia Flyers needed to win to get into the playoffs, so they had that shootout on the line. Like, that's a must-win game, and the Canes don't really care about it. So there is some, context to those situations. But regardless, it is still 3-0, 3-0-1 for the Canes. And the opposite of that for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, of course, currently their accolades have been round 1 sweep for the Hurricanes. We all know it. We all witnessed it. I'm not telling you anything new. And the Philadelphia Flyers went 6 games against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the first thing I want to note about this series is this is a DVD. Yeah, defense versus defense matchup. Both coaches being well known for their defensive style of play that they make their teams play. Both of these teams have been known to they got their success from the regular season through their defensive play. And that's been the real story about these two teams. I mean, we all know it. And the thing about it is everyone says it's going to be boring because these two teams just play shutdown, no nonsense, control the puck hockey. The thing is, with the Flyers versus when a case like this, where it is DVD, the Blu-ray wins. Yeah. And by that, I think everyone's like, oh, whose defense really shuts down the other one? I really think the main question is, when both these teams are so baked into who they are and being such a defensive king in the league, it's the stars, it's the forwards that really break through. And that's why I'm a little bit scared for the Philadelphia Flyers, or for the Hurricanes because of the Philadelphia Flyers. The Trevor Zegerses, the Michkovs, the Konechnys even, the Porter Martones, the guys that have been really breaking through this offseason so far and have looked very dangerous. Like, that's what kind of worries me for the Carolina Hurricanes, is that they don't really take those big wild chances and make these crazy risky plays that just upset and surprise and shock and are kind of hard to defend against sometimes. When Zegers pulls out some kind of flippy move and does something weird, or when the puck is just loose, sometimes he's just able to track it down and move it between guys' legs, maybe not into a great scoring position, but just keeps onto the puck and holds onto it and could maybe get to a dangerous spot. And the Canes, they love playing no-nonsense hockey, right? No nonsense, doing nothing. We're going to do a whole lot of nothing if we're on when anyone's on the ice. You ain't going to do a whole lot of nothing. Nothing interesting, no big shots, no anything. We're going to stop everything. And you're not going to do anything fun and exciting. The problem is that the Flyers offense, the big guys that are going to be bringing the offensive edge, they are the opposite of that. They're going to be doing the wild moves, and the Porter Martones are going to be making the crazy great shots and just finding the puck in the right areas. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the Flyers' offense is going to shine through it, because I think we saw a little bit of that against the good defensive Senators in that Kane series, and we all know the Stanky line, they broke through. They figured it out. And there is a big question mark of where are the superstars in that series. Sebastian Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis all getting marginal points. Especially like Svechnikov being invisible. But that Stanky line and everyone, I would say all 3 other lines other than the top one for the Canes were pretty impressive throughout the series, especially obviously the Stanky line. So we've seen the Hurricanes do it. And the thing that I want to note about the Flyers, because history repeats itself, and we know about these two teams. And the thing about Philly is that in that first round, they looked impressive until they didn't anymore. Those first three games against the Penguins, the first game, great by them. Second one, oh boy, like they were good. Third game, it looked like they had closed out the Penguins. And somehow, they allowed the Penguins back 2 games, and that, let's not forget, let's not be like, oh, Cam York's sticking to the crowd. The Flyers looked hideous in the overtime, okay? They were literally hideous, horrible to watch in overtime. And if it wasn't because of Darth Vladar, they would not be here at this point. The Penguins owned them in those tough situations deep in the playoff, deep into overtime. And when their back was against the wall, they were getting shoved out of the way. Just Vladar was really holding them in there, and some of their defensive players were keeping them close with it. But the Penguins, they were brought to the edge by the Penguins. The Penguins were literally one goal. They couldn't score a single goal in all 3 periods up until finally overtime, where they just got the one little 30-second break for the Flyers to score. And it's like, oh, see, that's all they need. That's all they need to score. But no, that was the Penguins screwing themselves out of the series, or not screwing themselves. They just couldn't get past Dan Vladar, and the Flyers team couldn't do anything to help them out. So, for me, Philadelphia scares me for that reason. And for those reasons, I'm going to say everything that is good about Philadelphia. The Hurricanes are not greater than or equal to, are greater than whatever the Flyers do. And that's the thing. There's a lot of parity in the league, and I think there's a lot of teams that do similar things. And these are two teams that have a few really talented offensive players, but are really built around their defensive play. And for right now, Freddie Anderson is being amazing. Dan Vladar, 2 goaltenders, once again, like the Canes series against the Senators. 2 goalies that I don't think anyone would have expected you telling them 11 months ago that these would be 2 of the hottest goaltenders in the league in the playoffs, but they are. And it does scare, and so to me, the Hurricanes, they are the Flyers, but better. And I feel like that's kind of a similar thing back when, like, Vegas was playing the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas is the Panthers, but better, and then the Panthers then became so much better than that. But you get what I mean. Like, I just feel like it's just, you got to find what another team's good at, and you do it better than them. And I think the Hurricanes, they've been there so many times. 8 years in a row, they've won a playoff series. They've been there. They've done that. The Flyers look scary to me towards the end of their playoff run. Maybe the Penguins, as much as I love to give credit for the Penguins and their great season that no one expected they were going to pull off. They still are shocking that they got in the playoffs into the second position in the Metro. They are not a team I would have ever expected to be in that situation. They did somehow with their aged, horrible defensive line with Letang and Girard. Girard, I think, looked pretty good. I think a lot of people were giving him a little bit too much hate, but I think he looked okay. But Letang, very rough out there. And just the Penguins, like, it's amazing what their coach has been able to put together, and Crosby's amazing season and Mantha lighting up finally, but it's still an unimpressive team. That is a team that should barely get in the first round, and they somehow did it pretty fairly. And the Penguins were able to hang on with the Flyers. That scares me for Philadelphia, especially with how cold they got for those 3-game span. The Hurricanes, I want to make a note, though. I always fear when teams have that long break between the last series they played and then the next round. And so that's one thing that scares me, but I feel like everyone says that every single year, and then it usually never plays a role. Maybe in like the first period or something, but after that, everything kicks into gear. But the special teams of the Carolina Hurricanes have looked amazing. I think they're going to do everything that the Flyers do, but better, and that's why I think this is going to be a great hard-hitting series. And for me, my prediction for this series is going to be Canes in 5. I don't think they're going to sweep 2 back series in a row. I think they got so lucky with a few of those games in Ottawa that they're going to not get that luck in this round. I think they take game 1. I think once they get their heels on, maybe it's a type. I think it might be a gentleman's sweep. I think the Flyers could take game one after having being well. Actually, no, because they were so cold to end their series. So I think it's a close game one, and then maybe game two is like a good win by Hurricanes. Game three going to Philly. Second round, first time in a while. I think like they could squeeze one out, and then they hunker down. I think it goes game five, ends in 2-1-2 is how the series will go. Um, yeah, I just think the Hurricanes, they have the mojo, they have the moxie right now. Um, and the Senators were a much better team than the Flyers looked in that last round, and better than the Penguins for sure as well. So I really think the Flyers. I think they're playing with house money right now. This is going to be the fun year. They're going to have a fun series. I think they're going to really put a thorn in the side of the Hurricanes. It's not going to be as easy swimming. I shouldn't say that. I think it'll be easier swimming than the Ottawa series for the Senators, but I mean for the Hurricanes, but I think the Flyers are going to score more. I think we're going to see a lot more like 5-2 games. We're going to see a lot more, 4-3 or something in this series. But that is all I got to say. And my prediction of the MVP of this series, I think it's going to be Svechnikov. I think he turns it on in this series. I think he's just going to do the same thing that he did during the regular season. He was going to be quiet, and then out of nowhere, he finally lights it up. He kind of did that last playoffs as well. Yeah, I think he just finds his groove in this series, and I think for with like I was saying, like how Zegras and Michkovs and whoever and Mortones and whoever else on the Flyers are going to have to turn on that next gear and like be too offensive and skilled for the Hurricanes defense. I think it's the same thing the other way. I think Jarvie and Aho are good puck movers and can move whatever. But Svechnikov is that kind of like overly skilled player and power forward that's gonna make a difference there. So that is what I have to say. And that's all. That's it. So put your predictions down below as well. Tell me how wrong I am, and I'm excited for this series starting tomorrow. Thank you for watching this. Subscribe, and too sweet. Ta-ta for now.